Welcome to a space where caregivers are truly seen and heard, where together we explore caregiving as not just a role or a series of tasks, but as a profound emotional experience. Hi, I'm Laura Wayman, the Dementia Whisperer.
I'm Jocelyn Ives, certified life coach in dementia and emotional awareness for caregivers. Together, we shine a light on the real emotional journey of the caregiver, the guilt, the grief, the frustration, fear and worry, and the exhaustion. And here we celebrate and honor the strength and courage and hope and the small moments of joy and connection that carry you through the journey.
This space is where dementia awareness becomes emotional empowerment, and where your story, your feelings, and your resilience matter. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to see you, and I cannot wait to share all of those who are on our podcast today. This is such exciting news. It is just this new dementia-aware approach to activities. And how many of you listening out there are struggling either as a professional or a family caregiver? How many of you are struggling in finding ways to engage your loved one, your resident, your client, your patient in activity? One of the biggest misunderstandings about dementia and dementia symptoms is that we believe that people lose interest in activities, but you know what? In reality, they often have the loss of the brain's ability to actually successfully process and participate in these activities. A healthy brain, those of us that are lucky to have this wonderful healthy brain, that healthy brain's performing thousands and thousands of complex tasks automatically. It's even something as simple as maybe getting a glass of water because you're thirsty, or playing a favorite game that requires memory processing, or paying attention. Maybe those of you with that healthy brain are paying attention to our podcast today, and we truly appreciate that your brain is allowing you to do that. Sequencing when you're, thinking linearly, judgment, problem solving. We rarely notice these processes because they're going on and our brains do them so effortlessly when they're healthy. But when a cause of dementia affects someone's brain and they begin to show that with these dementia symptoms, these automatic processes that are so wonderful for us with a healthy brain, they begin to break down. And at first, maybe the person is struggling to find the right word, or finding the right name, or recognizing someone's face, or even repeat a story. Maybe they misplace things that are kind of important to them and have difficulty completing familiar tasks. And as the disease or the illness or the stroke, whatever's causing these dementia symptoms, as that progresses, reasoning declines. They begin to not be able to have good reasoning or judgment. And everyday activities become difficult. Those tasks that person could do before on autopilot, maybe even a year before, now it is completely impossible for them to do that without some kind of dementia-aware support or help. Lifelong skills such as dressing and bathing and eating and recognizing objects, that can become lost. So what happens then, Jocelyn, when the caregivers have to shift from expecting this independence from their loved one or their client or their patient to providing that cognitive support?
When their expectations are not matching reality, the care staff is left feeling kind of helpless, disappointed, frustrated. And what happens then is they become less likely to engage with the patient or client or loved one because it doesn't feel good when they do. They walk away just going, well, that was kind of useless. And so it just snowballs really. And ultimately, they both suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then family members come in. I mean, we've heard this. Family members come in. Well, did you get mom to come play bingo? And the
Yeah.
care staff goes, nah, she wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so then the family members say, we have to make her do it. And the family members, thinking, well, we brought them to you in this
Yeah.
dementia care community. You're supposed to be able to get them to do it, right? And then the caregivers, the professional care staff is feeling even more helpless. How does that make that professional care staff feel?
Exactly. And I think when you're doing an activity, like the reason the family member is saying, "Did you get mom to go play bingo?" is because they're thinking if she was playing bingo, she would be happy, she would feel good, she would feel accomplished. But maybe her cognitive skills are not going to allow her to feel those feelings playing bingo anymore, and certainly not in a group. So we have to kind of back up and get back to why do we even want to do an activity? It's because we want to give them some joy in the moment, some positive feelings. So we need to make sure that the activities we're doing offer them an opportunity to feel that way. Otherwise, everyone walks away feeling disappointed, helpless.
That's exactly what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
We want to talk about how can we learn, because we're learning about what's actually happening in the brain and this loss of executive function. How
Mhm.
can we learn to fill in those gaps as family members and as professionals? You know, I go into communities a lot, and when I'm going in to train, I see this wonderful care staff before they become dementia aware and really understand what's happening. I see this wonderful care staff trying to communicate with those with dementia symptoms as if they had a healthy brain, because that's what we've learned all our life, right?
Of course.
And
Yes.
it's not successful and it
Oh,
feels really frustrating.
yeah.
I'll go in and there'll be for example, a group activity going on, which we're going to talk about why that doesn't work with dementia symptoms. It works in assisted living with healthy brains, but why doesn't that work? Because I'll go in and I'll see 8 people, 8 residents sitting in a semicircle,
Yeah.
and a wonderful, talented, loving, caring activity director trying to do a group activity. And this is what I see those 8 residents doing. There'll be 4 of them that are sleeping. There'll
Mhm.
be 2 of them that are trying to get up and wander away because they can't engage. Their brain won't let them feel good about engaging in that activity because of this executive function loss. And there'll be 2 that are fairly high functioning that maybe are really getting some benefit from it.
Right.
So, Jocelyn, tell us a little bit about how your company, American River Home Care, how you started going in and helping, because what you did is you realized one on one is really what's needed.
Yes, absolutely. Again, we kind of shifted the goal from let's do an activity checkbox to let's go in and provide some joy for as many residents as we can while we're in the building. And so music was probably our most popular activity as we because music is a memory that often remains, we started doing music trivia. But just like Laura said, we started to realize that while some of the activities that were group activities like music trivia or we colored big murals, some of the residents actually did enjoy it and they did have moments of joy. But other ones, just like Laura said, got up, walked away, fell asleep, or we were doing it for them and they were just kind of watching us, right? So we decided we need to have a kind of a multitude of things available to us, and so we started bringing some of our care staff with us. So for the residents that were further along in their dementia journey and couldn't participate in the group activity, we would pair them up with a caregiver and do something more one-on-one. Because again, our goal was to have left the building and to have created some moments of joy for each resident, not just to check a box and go, well, we did an activity. So we really kind of shifted what our main objective was, and it's really made an impact. And it has helped, not only helped us build relationships with these memory care communities, but I think some bells went off for some of their staff as well.
So it's an entire shift, really,
Yeah.
in dementia-aware care activities. And
Yes.
and the success, instead of being measured rather than accomplishment, it really is an emotional experience, you know? And so some activities that really help make that person feel safe and valued and capable and connected, even for just in the moment. Because positive emotional experiences provide quality of life, not just for the caregiver,
Mhm.
and for that resident patient client. But this is true even in the home, because both you and I, Jocelyn, in our professional lives,
Mhm.
really hear this a lot from family caregivers. You know, Mo- mom can't do this or that she used to be able to do that we could enjoy. And so now, all I really do is just put her in front of the TV because that's all she seems
Right.
to be able to do. And
Right.
so changing their expectations. But Jocelyn, I want to share our guests with you because I recently had the pleasure of meeting Ju Tu, who is the CEO and founder of Aegeliss, and Giulia Benvenuto, Community and Partnership Manager. Now, they're going to talk a lot about this, but their company was born from Ju's family's personal experience after her grandfather was diagnosed with some cause of dementia symptoms. They discovered there were very few dignified, adult appropriate, cognitive acceptable activities available. I see that too. You kind of go, ick, that, that
Yeah.
mom, she's not going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
But we have to figure out kind of that in between. What can they enjoy? Or they required constant caregiver assistance, and really what ended up is the caregiver was doing the activity.
Right.
So I would like to introduce, first of all, Ju, would you like to just talk a little bit about your leadership role, and then give Julia an opportunity as well?
Awesome. Thank you so much for the context setting, Laura, Jocelyn. It is such an honor to be here. My name is Jutu. I started Ageless because I was deeply frustrated by the search results when I was looking for dignified engagement activities for my grandparents. My very healthy grandmother was hospitalized twice, 2 years, starting from a few years ago. And I was really surprised. And until I saw firsthand how dementia caregiving could really take a toll on my once healthy grandmother's physical and mental health, then I realized that dementia caregiving is truly different and has deeply impacted the whole family dynamics.
Right.
So I know how important it is to keep my grandfather engaged, so she can have a moment to take a break, enjoy things on her own, but also giving my grandfather a healthy cognitive stimulation, and so he can, focus and enjoy. So when I came back to the States from China, and I was confident I'm going to find a lot of high quality, senior friendly, dementia inclusive activity on Amazon. And even the search results today really shocked me. You are going to find a lot of infantizing toddler toys with a repurposed listing title. You are going to see a lot of things made of low quality of materials that you probably wouldn't, even want to touch or feel yourself. And then a lot of existing solution that at least meeting the standard of, being adult appropriate, there is only one way of doing it. Meaning, if the person cognition level changes over the time, then it will
Mm,
be really hard for the person to engage. So the chance of failure is pretty high. So
right.
based on all of my personal struggle and from my extensive conversation with caregivers and families, I feel like this is the time I really want to make a difference. So I started Ageless in July 2024. And in December last year, I had the opportunity of meeting Giulia at the Seattle Age Tech Connect event. And from there, the earlier spark came from a longer conversation. And then we both have shared passion in the dementia care, dementia innovation space. So, Julia, I'm going to let you speak to your journey and your role of community and partnership at Ageless.
Thank you, Ju, and thank you, Laura and Jocelyn, for having us here today. It's such a pleasure. So as Ju mentioned, our paths crossed just at the end of last year when we formally met at this Age Tech Connect event that I actually organized. And just to give you a little bit background, I am clearly at the beginning of my career. But I had the honor of mostly working in the dementia care innovation space. Before meeting Ju, I was managing an investment program for a family foundation here in Seattle. And that really put me in front of a wealth of founders and startups, both in the nonprofit and for-profit world, that are actively innovating in the dementia care space. And I was blown away by the amount of, thoughtfulness and forward-looking thinking, and entrepreneurship that I saw and that I experienced myself. Um, More personally speaking, I come from Italy, and as you know, Italian families are very matriarchal. So women are at the top of the family pyramid. So I have witnessed my grandmother and then my mom really being the engines of our families, but especially the caregiving engines of our families. So right now, I'm still very lucky to have both of my grandparents, but my grandfather is highly impaired, and my grandma, who is 89 years old, she's his full-time caregiver. And one of the things that I witnessed personally was really engaging my grandfather, just like Ju's grandfather. Also, my grandpa was an active reader. He was super into history, loved being, intellectually stimulated. But right now, he is. We are really challenged with finding ways to keep him busy and to keep him meaningfully engaged. So I really empathize with this. And even though I'm not a caregiver myself, but I see it through my mom's eyes. I see it through all the caregivers that I had the opportunity to speak with. So I'm really passionate about this, and I am so lucky that I get the opportunity to bring this mission forward alongside Ju at Ageless that I joined in at the end of February, just a few months ago, as the community and partnerships manager. And in a nutshell, my role is I work closely with senior living communities, memory care providers, so activity directors especially, and other care organizations in the nonprofit care organizations to really bring dementia-friendly solution into everyday care. So I had the opportunity to interact with very well a lot of professional figures in the aging space and in the dementia care space. And again, like it's so amazing to learn more every day. And I think Ju can also testify to this. We are in learning mode. It's bottomless. There is just so much for us to learn about this space. So this is just a little bit about me and what brings me here today.
And I'm so excited because we say that, Jocelyn and I say that so often. I've been doing this for 30 years and I learn something new every day. And so it is so necessary for us to take these challenges, the familiar games and crafts that used to be able to really provide joy. They don't do that anymore. And group activities in long-term care, they're overwhelming. They're not really connecting. And so that inability to participate, it's really it has that neurological base. Their brain just can't do it anymore. So, of course, and you both have been to my presentation, so you know
Yeah.
this, but really a good dementia aware caregiver learns to think for them because they have a broken thinker. And that has to do with any care that we help them with, activities, dining, care, and support for activities of daily living. So I was so excited when I came to meet you and talk with you about this, because I would like for you to really take those challenges like you did and show some of these wonderful products that family caregivers can use, professional caregivers can use. Jocelyn's care staff and in-home care, they can take these and help to use these. It's so global of a solution-based kind of idea.
Yeah, I would love to give the audiences a brief introduction of what Ageless does and designs, so you have a better idea. So, like our company's tagline is independence, joy, and connection when it matters most. So it starts with independence. How can we allow the person to be more involved in the daily routine, to self-initiate more, so the care partner feel less stressful, less repetitive queuing, less anxiety and stress. So we have dementia-inclusive visual aids like door signs and home and routine label that allow the person to self-orient themselves in the home, to create that sense of familiarity and confidence as they look for their bedroom, look for closet, look for pans and pots or utensil in a drawer. What this does is allow the person to have the agency to go to the right place on their own terms without assistance. This is a sense of confidence for the person, but it's also make caregiving, less stressful for the caregiver. There's no redirection, less repetitive queuing, and you can, focus on the relationship versus the physical care part. So it's a win-win for both. In addition to independence, we also have joy and connection. So we also have dementia-friendly engagement activities that we start with the jigsaw puzzle and matching bamboo stand for ergonomic and sustained focus. Our designs allow the person to have sustained focus, which is the really, where the frustration gets very easily seen. I can no longer engage the person for more than 4 minutes. So what that entails is a stressful caregiver and an awkward conversation, and then it just keeps spiraling from there. So what we're doing differently is we embed multiple entry point into a really simple book format puzzle. This allow the person to engage it in a multitude of ways, just like Jocelyn mentioned earlier, have a multitude of ways to engage. I'm gonna put Ageless aside and just using the traditional puzzle as a comparison. So if you're setting up a traditional puzzle for the person, then a caregiver has to be the one brought up the big bulky boxes from the high shelf, putting it all the way, setting up on a table, maybe moving the wheelchair of the person to the table and making sure all the pieces are dumped out and lay out to the front. And then the pieces might be glossy. and then the reference picture is usually, not really noticeable. So after 10 minutes of setup, the person is unlikely to engage in a very either AI image generated puzzle or a toddler puzzle that are quite, childish, or a puzzle that they simply cannot understand or see. So we completely reinvented the puzzle experiences as the staple of an activity across the US household. We realized that the puzzle setup has to be ultra simple for the caregiver to, get it going. Instead of minutes, we reduce it to seconds. We design it in the book format with the building magnets. So all the caregiver that need to do is to bring it to the person and then flip the page open. The reference picture is right in front of them, and the puzzle pieces are embedded in the sleeve. That is very easy to take out, and then putting it back. So that is, the like easy way of doing the puzzle. But beyond that, we also have included the guided picture template with the exact guideline that is printed on this separate sheet. So what this enables is if the person can no longer do puzzle, which is slightly more challenging, require more cognition, they can still do matching. They can do matching on the side or do matching inside the building area. So they have both the visual support in the front and then the visual support in the back. We've had residents who were bored while waiting for the wheelchair to be repaired. And once they saw, the puzzle is only 12 pieces, really large and sturdy, they started engaging, looking at this Grand Canyon picture and get really emotional, started talking about family trip, engaged in the puzzle for about 45 minutes. When his son came to bring the wheelchair to him, he was telling me, I haven't seen that smile in so long. This is magic.
Mhm.
And then we also seeing like residents in memory care that is in really highly anxious prior to the engagement. And once she, was able to engage and having this sense of confidence building up because of the visual support, and she's able to stay focused for about 90 minutes. And then
Wow.
after 90 minutes, she was telling me, I feel so much better now. I was really anxious beginning of the day, and now I'm feeling so much better. So
Because
having
it was
visual
that
support is key.
emotional experience, like we're talking about. That's what we really need to understand. And it's an emotional experience for the caregiver as well, because,
Yeah.
now that caregiver who is looking at me saying, well, I don't know how to engage them. I say, walk right over there and pick up that puzzle because that is exactly what's going to help both of you feel accomplishment, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the conversation has to be feel like natural, not high effort. And then what's even better is if it can be a spontaneous engagement. The person, walks by, they saw this, this super simple table tent with an invitational sign that says, please enjoy the puzzle, and it'll pique their interest. They'll probably stop by, sit down, and start engaging it on their own terms. And then flip to the other side is the step-by-step instruction of how they could do the puzzle. So they will never feel embarrassed by not knowing like what to expect. So I think this is also another way of, bringing engagement in a really natural environment.
I so agree, and it's solving so many challenges in just that one item. And a lot of times, and Jocelyn and I talk about this a lot. A lot of times, that caregiver will make the mistake of saying, "Would you like to come do the puzzle?" And there's this tent right there that says, "Please enjoy the puzzle," which is a
Yeah.
positive action statement because you're telling that person what to do and not asking them because that's going to cause them anxiety. And then, like you said, on the other side, even if resident or the individual, the loved one, the patient, the client, even if they can't read those instructions, there's perfectly clear instructions for that caregiver so that they can step in and think for them. So, every side of this has been really thought through, which I so appreciated when I started talking with you. And Julia, when you came to me and you said, "Oh my gosh, I think we can really partner together because you so graciously were at my presentation when I was training other professionals about dementia awareness," you could see how that is in such sync
Mhm.
with learning dementia awareness and then learning the other side, which Jocelyn brings to us, about how does this make everybody feel, because in the end that's what is most important,
Mhm.
right?
It is.
How they're both walking away with a meaningful moment. The caregiver and that individual who has these challenges, they're walking away, like you said, with feelings of, I did that, value,
Mhm.
independence, and joy and purpose. And that's what dementia aware individuals do. It is
Mhm.
all about giving more moments of love and safety and security and value and comfort,
Yeah.
because that's all we have to give them now. And it's so priceless, I guess. Julia, just imagine you're a professional caregiver and you're trying to get your resident who has dementia symptoms, you're trying to get him involved in a activity. It's this great activity you want to. How does that make you feel when they resist that? How does that make you feel as a caregiver?
Oh, absolutely. It creates a lot of frustration, and a frustration that might turn into not feeling encouraged to try something different, and eventually just giving in and giving up,
Yeah, you
actually,
just feel
and
helpless. Like I
helpless.
can't, I can't do it
Totally.
right. I don't know how to do it right. And
Totally.
how did you feel? You can put yourself in that family caregiver role, and it's just you and your loved one, and there's no activity director, and there's no closet full of activities. How did it feel when just an activity that your grandfather used to enjoy? How did it feel when you tried to offer that and he couldn't take part in that? How'd that feel?
I will speak from my grandma's perspective, who lived with him every single day.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to be the chef in the house and prepare delicious meals every day and on important family occasion. And now, because cooking and preparing the meal is a really complicated process that he's unable to do, which, the responsibility naturally transferred to my grandma. So it's a lot of, on top of the physical care, it's a lot of planning on her. She has to manage so many decision-making process throughout a day. It also creates just endless mental strain on her. On always have to be the one thinking about what to, not only for my grandfather what to do, but also for the whole family, like what to eat, how to plan for a family meal, how to plan for breakfast or dinner. So it's just like a lot of build up of that stress through those micro decision. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
stress build up is, I would say, the most impactful outcome as a result of that.
I think for the family caregiver, I think it's just so valuable. But for a community, I love this so much because their care staff often walks away feeling like we talked about, kind of helpless, like that didn't really matter. That was a waste of time. And they didn't get anything out of it. But I love this because these will allow the caregivers to feel like they're making a difference. And I think this will allow communities to retain their staff because these caregivers could go to the mall and work somewhere else for the same amount of money and be a whole lot easier. So that they need to get some sort of satisfaction, some value out of their job. And to have a consistent staff in a memory care or dementia care community is huge, right? Because they really get to know these people, they get to love them. So I love this so much because I think it trickles out to an even bigger benefit to the community.
And it helps with those, this is helping to implement more coping strategies emotionally
Mm.
for the caregiver. Because like we were just talking about, I often hear this from family caregivers or professional caregivers. Well, I don't know how to do it. I just set them in front of the TV,
Yeah.
and giving them these feelings of empowerment and confidence and value. And this puzzle is beautiful. It's enjoyable. It's not just really something that the resident or the individual in the home is going to enjoy. Everyone's enjoying this. And when I was working in leadership in long-term care and in my whole dementia care, what the way that I trained the staff is that anytime they did a task, they should be incorporating some kind of activity into that task.
Mm.
Never a task without some activity. So I tried to support them, not near as well as you all are with your products, but I tried to support them by, I went to Goodwill and got the big picture books that you put on a coffee table that you go to Goodwill and they're like $5. You try and buy them online, they're like $200. But I got some of airplanes and automobiles, or I got some of babies, or picnics, or World War II. And I would have those all around. And the way that I train the staff in what I call dementia-aware activity approach is that if they brought them to the table, waiting for a meal, don't just leave them there. Start a conversation. Put a picture book in front of them and start a conversation so that they can be enjoying, even if it's just a meaningful moment. They can
Mhm.
be enjoying a meaningful moment where they see a pretty picture that they can relate to, or have a short little conversation with the caregiver or someone else sitting at the table, another resident. And you can see how this that puzzle would be so great, because not only are they looking at a beautiful picture, they're involved and engaged in touching it and feeling it and putting the puzzle together and carrying it around and opening it up. And it's just so much more. And yet it is so dementia aware. And like Jocelyn and I talk about, we want to give these caregivers these feelings of, I am doing enough. I'm doing
Yes.
more than enough. When,
Yes.
I have all of these tools that I can do more than enough, right? It's
And
so,
it leads, oh, sorry, Laura, it leads them to more ideas because when you have an activity that was unsuccessful, let's say, and they're going to have thoughts like that was a waste of time, or they don't like anything anymore. There's nothing they can do. And so what happens when you head your brain in a certain direction is it starts looking for proof of that. It wants to prove that true. And it'll find all the different things that they can't do, right? See,
Right.
there's nothing they can do. And we just kind of give up. But what you're doing, Ju, is you're offering the caregivers an opportunity to think different thoughts like, oh my gosh, there is stuff they can do. And then what happens in your healthy brain as a caregiver is you're headed that direction. And pretty soon you're looking all over, you're thinking of new things they could do, right? You're wanting to prove that true. And that's just the way our brains work. And that's why it's so important, the sentences in your head,
Mhm.
because they are like a steering wheel and they head you in that direction. So like, I just love this so much because you are offering not only your products, but there will be more to come, I'm sure, that you come up with. And then also that caregivers figure out on their own because they're starting to believe there is a way for everybody to have some moments of joy, some engagement, some connection. So I love it.
I love what you point out there, Jocelyn. we are really about making caregivers the best caregivers they can be by providing them with these sort of tools.
Yes.
Because there is once a caregiver feels confident and good about what they're doing, that
Yes.
has a huge impact on the relationship with the resident if we are talking in a care setting. But I mean, even more so in a family setting, like
Absolutely.
we know like family caregivers and their relationship with their loved ones living with dementia symptoms, they erode, become really challenging, it become sadly very difficult. So think about the difference, the impact that a caregiver, a family caregiver that feels very good, that feels like confident and ready and know how to tackle this
Mhm.
rainy afternoon with nothing to do, like that is going to have a beautiful and long-lasting impact on the relationship. So I really
Yes.
love what you point out there. Thank you.
I agree. I agree so much. If you feel good about what you're doing, you start to identify. If I decide I'm a good mom, then all my decisions throughout the day, I'm identifying myself as, let's see, what would a good mom do? Because I'm a good mom. Okay, I know what to do. So you're exactly right. It just ripples out when the caregiver feels confident and good about themselves and what they're doing and their impact. It just continues to grow. So I
Repo,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
repo effect.
Yes.
Julia can tell you more about this, but just we had a creative challenge, like how many ways you can use the puzzle. And then
Yeah.
in one of the local memory care, we love the set with the activity director. And
Okay.
Julia, do you want to share to the audiences how many ways they have done that at Jefferson House?
Yes, I mean, I've witnessed activity directors, but even at a memory cafe, the program leader come up with like 10 plus ways of doing the puzzle. So, we think of the puzzle as an individual slash independent activity, and that's how we actually originally designed it. But then, we go to this memory care and this memory cafe here locally in Seattle, and their staff is like, but we turn this into a game with
Very
multiple
cool.
residents around the puzzle, right? So it turned into this great opportunity to spark inter-resident engagement, because after all, in a memory care community, they're family, they live there 24/7,
Mhm.
right? And we know that, like, as relationships in one households, can become a bit
Mhm.
rough at times. But the opportunity to come together around a table and doing an activity together and engage together, it's priceless, really priceless for the residents and for the caregiver staff as well. So a couple of ideas that we heard from activity director is, splitting the puzzle pieces in two, having two residents working on the puzzle together. And that also, another beautiful, like, emotional experience that we saw was, cheering each other up and,
Mhm.
motivating each other. That was just great. Like seeing residents high-fiving each other. Oh,
Yeah.
great, you can do this, like this, and then problem solving together. That was amazing. A couple of other ideas is, let's do the puzzle with your dominant end one way, and then the second puzzle with your non-dominant hand. There are great ways to approach this, because after all, we're not reinventing the wheel, right? But we're thinking intentionally and more thoughtfully about how can we make an activity dementia aware? How can we make it as adaptive as possible, that it meets people where they're at without any, it's a not fail engagement opportunity.
Yeah.
So for us, this has been an incredible journey. And as I mentioned earlier, we're learning so much from caregivers, from residents, and people living with dementia symptoms themselves, and from all the different care professionals that we're meeting on our day to day.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I
so
love it.
exciting. It is that shift. And so what I see, because we came together the way that we did, is, my part as the dementia whisperer is I make you a dementia aware expert. I help you to understand, the ins and outs and what's really happening in that person's brain and why they're not communicating and engaging and acting a certain way like they did before, or completing tasks, or all of that. That's my part. And then you all come and you take that information and help the caregiver with that dementia aware engagement, utilizing that knowledge, but then perfecting it so that they can enjoy the activity. And then Jocelyn's coming along and surrounding us all with emotional awareness so that we feel good about these complex emotions and also learn to go from helplessness to feelings of accomplishment as a caregiver and empowerment, and that frustration and that sadness, and learning to really change our expectations, and change our thought patterns. I love when I learned from Jocelyn about this, because just the questions you ask yourself, well, why couldn't I do that right? Into, I'm going to learn to do this right because it feels good, right? And changing that whole expectation, when we come together, we really do end up making that successful caregiver, both family and professional. But you see how we have to spread this word. And that's what's so absolutely wonderful about today, because, there's all these ways that we can help our listeners beyond this podcast.
So if a memory care wants to buy, do you kind of sell them a package? Do they get it? No, or they just go on the website and buy singular items? Or talk about that. If I'm a
Yeah.
community, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They can directly go to our website and purchase. And we offer discount for first-time customer and for customer who are above like a 350 threshold.
Okay.
If the it's going to be an even bigger purchase, and then we'll like continuously purchase over the time, then we can talk about volume discounting and a customized proposal. I think the easiest way of finding Ageless, a few ways. We're active on LinkedIn and Instagram, and our company name, although pronounced as Ageless, we spell in an unconventional way. So our spelling is Aegeliss, which is, aging can be in different forms, and there's not a traditional, like there's no singular way, but we want it to, people can thrive at their own pace, can blossom at their own times. So that's why ageless is spelled this unconventional way. You can also find us directly at our website, browse our collection, both visual aids and engagement activities at ageless.com, which is aegeliss.com. We are definitely with a aspiration to expand into different language packs, different different like puzzle image variation, engagement activity types, so we can really meet people at what they are by providing choices. So yeah, find us on Instagram, like us, engage with us, share your thoughts, and also on the YouTube, you can find our podcast.
Have either one of you taken my quiz about dementia awareness? You need to go do that. It's very interesting, because you will find that we still, with dementia awareness, we still have lots to learn, but it also will connect you to many other supportive services. You can go on my website, laurawayman.com, and you can find it. You can find it all over Facebook. And come join us on the support group too. It's a live group. It's absolutely free. And so, like I said, that will be, but it's the last Tuesday of the month
Okay.
at 5:30. So make sure you join us there, or send anyone to us there. Of course, we want to be as supportive as possible. We do Zoom consultations. We can do them either separately or together, where we can provide those. And if you come to us through the support group, we have discounted rates for our Zoom consultations, which really is dementia awareness, emotional awareness. We can talk about you all if they're needing some ideas about activities, just giving more resources, So you can also find us for Zoom consultations once again on my website. When you go take that quiz, you can I can sit with you, and Jocelyn can also join us, and we can do a free initial consultation on Zoom, just so that we can really customize any time we have together.
First of all, thank you guys for being on the podcast. But I just want to say, like, oh my gosh, I hope you realize what you did. Like, you saw a need, and most people would have just said, well, that's frustrating. Don't know what to do. But you didn't. You started a company and you're solving problems for families. Like, it's awesome. I hope you realize that. Thank you very much for doing that, because
Yeah.
the people are out there and they need you and they need these products. So, anyways, thank you.
Thank you for seeing us. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing today. Remember that caregiving is not just a responsibility, it's a deeply human experience. And you, every one of you, deserve support and clarity and compassion all along the way. So be sure and join me, Laura Wayman, the Dementia Whisperer.
And me, Jocelyn Ives, certified life coach for dementia caregivers. We are both here to remind you that you're not going through this alone. Your emotions are valid. Whatever you're feeling is exactly what you should be feeling right now. And your resilience is real. I know, and Laura knows, that some days you probably feel like you're sinking. And on better days, you feel like you're barely floating. We are here to teach you to swim.
We wish you calm seas and gentle winds on your dementia care journey. And we want to welcome you back next time and every time as we continue exploring the truth, the tenderness, and the transformation within this caregiving journey.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review.